Welcome to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Lorianne Casdia. Our goal here at Healthy Lifestyle is to inspire, educate, and empower you to fulfill a healthy, emotional, spiritual, and physical life so you can feel empowered to live the life you have always wanted and dreamed. Welcome to the show. I am a life and business transformational success coach and the #1 international best-selling author and speaker. And today on our show, I'm so excited. It's Coaching Corner with Vince Perrotta. How you doing, Vince? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing well, thanks. Good afternoon. Nice to see you.
Good afternoon, and nice to see you as well. So what's shaking? What's going on?
It's a busy time. Lots going on. There's so many priorities and projects right now. This is a busy time of year for what I do, so get pulled in a lot of different directions.
Yeah, you can handle it though. You do it with such ease and calmness, even though your hair is probably on fire.
It is. That's why I have very little hair.
Stop it.
So
in a month, you'll be able to play golf. We'll play some golf.
that sounds really good.
There you go.
So a lot going on with you, though. You've made quite a number of things that available that are really helpful, and hope we get a chance to talk about everything today. It's really good.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Vince, I made a discovery, figured out a way to explain it to people. And this discovery is going to really help people take action. And I call it Take Action with Jet Propulsion. It's a masterclass that I offer, but it really is. Taking action is important. And one of the things, like there are certain steps to success. And, I speak about success all the time. And the steps are obviously you need to have a vision, right? Mm-hmm. And then with that vision, you have to have goals, because otherwise, what are you doing? It's like playing football, but not having end zones. Like, where do you go with the ball if you don't know where you're going, right? So you have to have goals. And then from the goals, you create a strategy and a plan so you could execute and attain those goals, right? And it's taking massive, imperfect action that's real important. And then the #1 thing that makes people successful, and if you look at the history of any success coach, anybody who's been successful, is consistency. Showing up, doing it, executing, taking action, right?
Yes. And it is about consistency, but it's really hard because, like I was saying a few minutes ago, there's always multiple priorities, things pulling at you. And you've started to talk about a syndrome that you identified, and I think it's related to this conversation in a lot of ways. So why don't you tell us what that syndrome is that you identified, and let's talk a little bit about what you found out.
Yeah, so this syndrome has really interesting symptoms to it, right? A lot of cases, the person doesn't know their why. Why do they do what they do? Why do they go to work every day? Why do they make the choices that they do? Sometimes that person has an environment that is not conducive. As we say in slang, the environment sucks. So what is it? Is it the environment? Is it you? Is it the work that you're doing? Are you not feeling fulfilled? That's what usually makes the community or where you are feel like it's not comfy. It doesn't fit like a comfy shoe, right? Sometimes the person suffers from fear of paralysis. The fear is paralyzing them, the fear of taking that step, of doing something, of making that choice between the 50 different things that they have to do. Some believe that they can't do it. They don't have that belief that they can. Some are surprised by the obstacles, and that stops them in their tracks, right? So these are all symptoms, some of the symptoms that, and there are more which we can go into in a minute, but that lead us down to what I call Super Ball syndrome. And why I call it Super Ball, remember these little things, these Super Balls?
I love those when I was there.
So these, they bounce them and they go in all different directions. And the energy that it is propulsing them to go in the direction, it appears to be confused. It appears to be unrestrained. It appears to be very random. And it's anything but. It just has so much energy. It goes in all directions. That's the people that I'm talking about. We have a lot of energy. We're visionaries. And I am one of them, without a doubt. We're visionaries who, we get stuck. We get stuck on moving forward. And taking action is the hard part, because we have this idea, and we've spoken about it, and you're like, Lorianne, can we go back to what we started talking about? Because I'm on to the next idea. And so you reel me back in and bring me over to the next idea. And you have to stay on your train track. So I learned one, what the symptoms are, and then I learned how to harness that energy without harshing or muting the creativity, which if you do that to me, you know me, I'll take my ball and go home. I don't want to play. I want to play because you just stifled me from doing what I love to do, which is coming up with these creative ideas. And then so all these other things come into play. That all makes sense?
It does. And it kind of starts to get to where I really wanted to start, which is like how you kind of made this discovery. And it sounds like a lot of this came through kind of self-exploration and self-awareness, which is wonderful.
It started with me. It's like, why am I not completing these projects, and why? And I'm good at dotting I's and crossing T's when I put my mind to it. But here's an example, and this is where it really started from. I had all these to-dos to do, and they weren't to done. And I found myself folding laundry.
Interesting.
And I was supposed to be working. And you know how much I love laundry and folding it. It was just, so here I am folding laundry, and I'm like, what am I avoiding? What am I not doing? Why am I doing laundry right now when I have all these things to do? One was I was overwhelmed. I didn't even know where to start. So that's a huge symptom of Super Bowl syndrome, is not knowing where to start. Two is we procrastinate. We do things, anything. Now, with the folding of the laundry, in my mind, I could justify, well, the laundry has to be folded. I have to take care of my family. It's an important thing that needs to be done, right? Mm-hmm. But it was just a method of procrastination, right? And I was being impatient with myself instead of looking at what I needed to look at. So I started asking myself questions. Self, what should you be doing? And why aren't you taking these steps? And what's holding me back from taking the step? And it was a conversation I needed to have that was uncomfortable. So I was doing everything but what I needed to do to take that next step, right? And I was fearful that it would be a no. So here's where that fear comes in, right? I was fearful that it would be a no, we're not going to do that. No, we're not interested in that. So I was procrastinating, and I'm doing this while I'm folding my laundry, right? And when we don't know where to start, then we can't implement systems or have a plan. I had no accountability. I needed accountability, right? My goals were clear to me, but very vague. And I set the goals, but I didn't keep looking at them. So all these things were symptomatic of what is now referred to as Super Bowl syndrome. And yeah, I discovered it in me, but then I started seeing it in my clients, and I was like, oh, wait, I know that one. Oh, wait, I know that one. It all started to really unfold in front of me.
So you kind of led to where I was thinking about. So if I'm looking at this and listening, go, all right, how do I know if I have this? What should I look for? Do you have some guidelines or some things that we can ask ourselves to help us self-diagnose a little bit?
Yeah, I have a quiz. It's called Is This You? And that's Super Bowl syndrome. And I could definitely send it to anybody who wants. Just go to ldcstrategies.com and you'll be able to get it. But Is This You has different symptoms, and you can basically check it off. And your level of Super Bowl syndrome depends on if you have 1 to 5 of these categories that I've been listing. You're on the low side. You're very, very functional as a Super Bowl. You just probably need accountability. We always need accountability. So that's what's going to keep you on your train track, but you're pretty much in alignment. Then the next one is about 6 to 10. 6 to 10 is we have a lot of things to work on, and that's going to be very significant to mindset. Maybe hanging with the wrong crew, maybe getting distracted easily, loving your excuses. Oh, I can't do this because I can't do this because this happened. And so I call that the blame shame game. So that's just a bunch of excuses, right? You keep getting stuck in the house. So it's like you can't get out of the gate. You're that horse ready to run, but you just can't get out of that gate because you just don't know where to start. All of those things would be in that. And then our Super Bowls, those are the high bouncers, are 11 plus of these different categories that are listed. And they definitely need some mindset shifting. They absolutely need some kind of strategy and plan. They need tools to allow them to stay focused.
So it sounds like there are some pretty distinct quadrants that people would fall into, and that would help them by first identifying kind of, okay, what quadrant are you in, so to speak. And then based on that, you've got steps, I would assume, that, that kind of help them move forward. But before we talk about that, Tell me a little bit more about some of the more common symptoms that people should recognize in themselves as they're trying to figure this out.
Sure. There's one is too many irons in the fire. You got a lot of stuff going on, and it's just overwhelming. Overwhelmed is a really good symptom. Easily distract, shiny object syndrome. I'm sure you've heard that, right?
Yeah.
Easily, like, shake the keys and whoop, they're gone. Lots and lots and lots of really good ideas, lots of notebooks full of all these ideas that they want to do, but none of them are executed on, or they're all started. Here's a visual I usually give. Picture yourself sitting in the middle of a library. Picture yourself surrounded by books all the way around, 360 degrees. Picture all those books open to a different chapter, piled high, almost as high as you are, up to your shoulders. Those are all the opens, the messes, the incompletes that we haven't finished. If you have a lot of those things, and they're all little things, it's like, for me, it's the extension cord that I didn't put on did I ever tell you that story? The extension cord up. So my office is upstairs in my house. And I make my coffee in the morning and I go upstairs. And every time I would go up the stairs, to my right is my living room, and I have a lamp, and there was a cord running across the wall. And that is just distasteful to me. I don't want to see the cord. I just needed to put the extension cord on. And I'm like, I got to do that. I would walk up into my office and I would be a little agitated. I have to write it on my list again, or circle it on my list, underline it, highlight it, whatever I was doing that day. And to remind myself, but I would already start in oh my God, I got to remember to do this. And it would kind of put me in this mode, start off my day, which was a little agitated, right? So one day I was like, enough is enough. I put my coffee down on my landing. I walked downstairs. I got the extension cord. I put it on. I hit the little cord. It made me feel really good. I walked up the stairs. I felt ridiculously on an inappropriate level of like calmness and satisfaction that I just put this extension cord in. That took me less than a minute to do. But now I knew it was done. I got to cross something off my list, and we love lists. Super Balls love their lists.
So another major characteristic of Super Balls, they have lots of lists, huh?
Yes, lots of lists, and they love crossing them off or checking them off or hearing them ding. I have all of that. I have this app called, and it's a free app. It's called Microsoft To Do, and you check it off. It goes bing, and then it goes, shh, and the line goes through the item. I'm like, oh, it makes me so happy. It's the little things, Vince. It's the little things. But all those little to-dos that we leave undone sit here in our head, and it takes up space.
Yes.
So think of your head being cleaned out like a closet. It's going to be messy at the beginning because there's so much to do. But if you start writing them down, and that's some of the tools that I provide to Super Balls is, okay, let's clean up these messes and incompletes. And I don't mean messes in a bad way. It's just not completed. We haven't closed that project. We hadn't have a beginning, a middle. We kind of do beginning, middle, and then we don't have that ends. We don't have the satisfaction of closure with it. So this allows us to have that satisfaction of closure. And we need that, one, in order to continue our creativity, right? Mm-hmm. You need air and space to be able to create. So that visioning becomes even more enlightened. And then we also need to, by closing it, it's clearing it out, allowing space to allow other things to come in.
All right. So the first step is kind of clear it out, get the air and space back that you need to bring in the newer idea or the next thing to do.
Right.
Good. And you kind of alluded to that's one of the things you're doing in the class. So you've got that class coming up. We're going to talk about that a little later, but what's the date for the class?
Well, the masterclass, it's called Taking Action with Jet Propulsion. That masterclass is the first step in working with me on the Super Ball syndrome to try to mellow it out. That starts the 15th of every month. So you can jump in any month you want. It's 6 months, one meeting a month. Mm-hmm. And this way you can come in, hit your to-dos, and then you have a month to work on them, and you have calls in between if you want them, and to keep you on track. So that accountability is there. But when you come back the next month, the things you committed to, we will hold you accountable for.
That's really great. That's really great. And it does help to keep people focused and staying on that task.
Yeah, yeah. And you may want to get the 3 steps to cleaning up your messes and incompletes. That's something that I also offer as a free tool for people who want to work with me. And that allows you to start that process of cleaning up your messes.
And they can get that if they send an email to
LDC Strategies. So lacasdia at ldcstrategies.com, or if they send it here at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. Yeah, I said it really fast. You want to do it slow?
Yeah, I would like it if you did it slower, please.
We'll do it again.
People were trying to write that and they went in like,
It's lacasdia, CASDIA at ldcstrategies.com.
great. Yeah, because that's a valuable tool. We definitely want folks to get that. And a great way to kind of get started, because I think if you do that first, reach out, get this document, and then it gives an opportunity for you to kind of do some prep work. Then you can lead into the master class. And as you said, it's kind of a rolling admission so people can jump in, and it's the 15th, I think you said, of every
15th
month?
of every month. Yep.
15th of every month. They
Start a
can,
new session the week of the 15th of every month.
that's perfect. That's really good.
And you have 3 different choices, but we can get into it when you're interested, that's fine. But in the meantime, if any of these resonate with you, any of these symptoms, and they're not all of them, but there's some significant ones in there. If that resonates with you, then you're probably a super ball, and you're probably having that issue staying on your train track, staying in your lane. Some people call it, just staying focused, staying in your wheel of wisdom. That's really important. Our superpower is really that vision. And so we have to really work hard at staying focused. I will literally be saying to myself, I just did this recently. I was working on a project. I had 2 more steps to go, and I decided, oh, okay, I'm going to stand up and do something. And I had to say, no, just finish the other 2 steps.
Right.
Complete it. Just finish it.
Well, we kind of fib to ourselves and say, we're just going to take that little break that seems to end up lasting about 3-4 hours.
Yeah, suddenly I'm binge watching something. I'm like, what? No.
I didn't see the end of Yellowstone, so I didn't.
Neither did I.
So, all right, well, that's really good. So we've kind of talked a little bit about what the syndrome is and how to self-diagnose. I think that's probably a critical component, helping people recognize, because once you see that you have it, and I think we all kind of know that we have it, it's like you have to accept that you have a problem before you can really start to fix it. What's probably the most important or the most common symptom that you see in people that would stand out most often to tell us that people have that?
They're not taking action. You have all these great ideas, and you talk about, oh, I have all these great ideas. And you don't take action on them. I see that so often. That and having so many irons in the fire, so many things that you're doing. And what you're really doing is you're distracting yourself from finishing the first step. So you're working over here and you're distracting yourself over here. So you're causing your own shiny object syndrome by shaking. By shaking the shiny object. It's like, well, I'm not interested in this anymore. That's what happens when our brains work so fast. We're having a conversation here in New York. My brain's already in Florida, so yeah, I'm already done with the conversation. So, and you'll find also another thing is Maximus interrupts us. We interrupt a lot. Because we already know what you're going to say. We've already completed that sentence in our head. We're already on to the next thing. So you really have to learn to pull back and not do that.
The interesting thing is if you've ever spoken to somebody who really does a good job of listening, they don't interrupt, and they almost, they wait for those moments. There's that pregnant, everybody does it. You have that pregnant pause where you just stop for a second and you're just formulating kind of what might be the crux of what it is that you're discussing, and the other person jumps right in because they were fast down the track and they're like, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. So let me tell you this.
Yeah, that's definitely a symptom. A funny story. I used to work for this gentleman who was called Mike. I will leave out his last name. He was my boss when I was working at Arrow Electronics, and I was in this corporate contracts area, blah, blah. And I would go in there and bring him something and bring him a situation, whatever it was. And I would throw up on his desk, whatever it was. And then he would just sit there and kind of stare at me. And there would be this horrible, awkward silence. And I would be like, okay, so maybe he wants more information. And I'd throw up more on his desk, And one day I sat down and I was like, why do you do that? It makes me crazy. And he goes, what do I do? What? I said, you get silent. And I said, I've been sitting here for like a minute and you haven't said anything. And he said, I do it for two reasons. He said, one, I'm giving thoughtful consideration of what you just said to me and I'm processing it. And I was like, well, that's fair. Made me feel really bad. I was like, all right, that makes sense. I was being impatient. Aha, Super Bowl. But he said also, he goes, what happens when I provide silence is people are uncomfortable with silence. And therefore they try to fill the space. And when they do, they give me more information. Now I have to digest that information on top of it. So it was also a tactic. So it was actually, he was being thoughtful and also, was having a tactic. So I thought that was an interesting learning curve for me. And after that, I would just sit there and wait until he answered me.
And we all talk about being listened to, but we're so quick to keep talking.
So true. You're listening to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne and Vince Perrotta. We're going to take a short break and we will be right back. Welcome back to Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I am Lorianne. If you have or would like to be a guest or lift up your business and product or not-for-profit, or if you have a question or a comment, we would love to hear from you. Please email us at healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. Like really slow for Vince, healthylifestylewithla@gmail.com. No, you're absolutely right. It takes a long time to write that down. Vince, we're here with Vince Perrotta. We're in the coaching corner. We were just talking about Super Bowl syndrome and the symptoms associated with it. So where did we leave off?
Well, at gmail.com. I'm sorry.
You're great.
I was still writing it down, so I needed a second. Anyway, but we left it off. We were talking about identifying kind of what is blocking, pardon me, what's blocking your success. And I think that's the hardest part of this, right? Because, okay, so I think in the Palace of Truth, we all take a step back and we can go, I think that's me. I have this challenge. Oh, I have this challenge, right? Okay, so now I know I've got but what do I do to discover what's blocking that success, right? Because there's got to be something there. So how do you help me recognize those things?
So again, it's going through the process and discovering what's holding you back, getting in your way, blocking your success, right? And you do that by identifying things like this. So if you have no accountability partner, that's going to block your success. Anybody who's successful has somebody who holds them accountable. We can't hold ourselves accountable. As much as I'd like to think and believe I can hold myself accountable because I hold others accountable, why can't I hold myself accountable? Because we're in the water, we're in the pool treading water. We can't be the lifeguard and treading water at the same time.
Well, but that's okay. So I'm going to interrupt you for a second because that's really hard. And that's the part that I think you have to find somebody or you have to go get some assistance somewhere, right? Because you can pick a friend, but a friend may not want to tell you all the time because they like you. And, this is about being straight with you and giving you clarity.
Yeah. Well, so two things. If you decide to get a coach, if you ever get a coach, I highly recommend it, or someone to hold you accountable is one, if they're holding you accountable, they need to be held accountable. Right. So you always want to work with someone who's providing a tool to you that they use themselves. Otherwise, they won't know how to execute that tool. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's why you and I talk really well, because you're a coach, you execute, you've coached many, many people. So you understand what those tools are. The other thing is when you have somebody who's coaching you, holding you accountable, we have to have this permission slip to speak honestly and not hold it against each other. So a friend may not be a good person to do that because they may not be able to separate. Some people can, most people can't. So they will start, feeling badly. And sometimes we hear things that are really tough. Sometimes I have to have tough conversations with my clients and really tell them, show them how they're not showing up for themselves. Show them that they're distracted easily because they're not seeing what we're seeing. And that's why, and I use this analogy as I am the lifeguard standing on the coping. You're in the pool, treading water, working in your business every day. I'm looking at your overall business. I have no attachment to the end result, except I want you to be successful, of course, but I have no attachment to that end result. You do. There's always, well, I have to succeed. I have to make money. You have all these attachments associated, even your employees. I can see something different in your employees because I'm not attached to them, I'm not their friends. I haven't been working with them. I don't know anything about their family. I'm looking at it from a pure distance, and there's something special about that, right? So with that, I see different things than you do. And so you need to have somebody who can hold you accountable, and you need to be able to be open to hearing the tough conversations.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
we've
true.
had tough conversations, and you've had to lay it out, and I'm like, okay, not happy, but I'm not happy at you. I'm not happy at me. I mean, I'm not happy with me.
Well, and that's why having that healthy distance that a coach needs to have, and you're right also about kind of a coach needs to live and practice the things that they're going to hold you accountable to, because the easy answer is, oh, you should be doing this. And the question can be either why or how do you do it? If you can't answer that with real truth, then you've kind of lost that individual you're trying to help.
Yeah, without a doubt. So coach with no coach, that's the first question I always ask. Does the coach have the coach?
Right.
If the coach doesn't have a coach, they're not for me. You know why? They're not teachable. And if they're not teachable, how are they teaching you? So I'm always going back to my coaches. I have multiple coaches for different things. I'm always going back to my coaches to get guidance, make sure I'm in alignment, make sure I am on the right track. I might think I'm on the right track, and they're like, oh, baby, you're not, So, and that's okay. That's okay. That's why we have them.
Right.
I don't see Patrick Mahomes needs a coach. As good as he is, he needs a coach to be sitting on the sideline saying, maybe next time we should try this. How about trying this? And so, there's a reason why they're there. We can't, nor should we have to do it all ourselves. We don't have to be everything to everybody and everything to ourselves.
And we don't want to be. And we don't want to be. Stay in your lane, espouse your expertise. And I think you get a lot of credibility with individuals when you're working with them. You can say, look, this is not my area. Let me, either encourage you to get someone else who has that expertise or refer you to someone.
Yeah. I had to refer somebody recently because they were asking me finance questions, and that is not my area. So I don't do math. I always say that. So I refer them to somebody who has the knowledge. I'm like, this is the person you need to talk to. They have the knowledge. They will get you through it. They'll coach you through that as well. So yeah, you need to know what your limitations are, and you need to know your zone of genius. I know my superpowers, and like I said, discovering the Super Bowl syndrome is just magical, because that aha moment sent chills through me, because I was like, finally, first of all, there's a name for this silliness that I have. And second of all, there's a cure, if you will. There's solutions to it. And now I can share it with other people. I know how to harness the energy. I know how to keep that creativity going at the same time, staying in our lane and getting things accomplished, and really helping those revenue streams and bumping up those numbers.
So once that you're kind of moving through this, right? We've identified we've got a problem. You've helped somebody discover what it is that's blocking them. Kind of the next step feels like it's, kind of, what do you do about that? What's holding you back? Because people process at different speeds and in different ways, right? I learned the best thing for me that I ever learned was I am not a person that sits down with a book and reads to study. I love taking tests and then go looking up why my answer was wrong, and I will learn so much. That's just happens to be my way. And I'm very visually oriented. I can listen to a lecture and then play it back in my head. That's just my example. But for this process now, since we do process in different ways at different levels, how do you help people? What do you do with them to get this?
Yeah. So first you asked a couple of questions in there, so I'm going to peel that onion back. first is, so now we have these things that are keeping us in a way, in our that are in our way from keeping us from being successful. And so first we need to disrupt limiting beliefs. So a lot of these symptoms are limiting beliefs. Your fear of is paralyzing you is a limiting belief. Believing that you can is a limiting belief. You get distracted easily is an excuse and a limiting belief. We need to disrupt those limiting beliefs and cultivate the confidence that yes, you can do this. Fear is something that you can jump. Let's address it head on. So we really address it head on, and that allows us to build that confidence to allow you to master the skills that are going to be required to stay in your lane in order to complete the projects, in order for you to be successful. And you're going to be wildly successful when you keep to this equation. So that's the process we go through. And yeah, to your point, people process very different speeds. Like Michael was taking all the information I gave and sat there what seemed like 20 hours, right? Exaggeration, but it seemed like forever, but he was being mindful and processing one after another to give a mindful answer back and not just a knee-jerk reaction.
Well, you call it an exaggeration, but to the person like yourself, it was an hour, right? It did feel like,
yes.
Because I remember as a kid, one of the things I learned is I can look at a blackboard and just get everything quickly. And then if we're just going to very, in a very protracted way, go through it, I'm going to shut down. I stop listening.
Yeah. Well, you like me, we're both visual. So like, just show me. And I get it. And and you process quickly. So you process quickly. Not everybody processes that quickly. And so we have to make space for people who take a little longer. It's not good or bad. It's not better. It's just what it is. It's just how we function. Right. So it's not, and that's not a limitation. That's just how you function. Knowing that is the important part. Knowing that that's what you need.
So you start by disrupting limiting beliefs.
Yep.
And then you identify how it is that particular individual processes and learns so that you could do it in a way that helps them to assimilate that and get that information to make progress forward. True? Yeah.
Because we want to take us from confusing to clarity. We want them to be in alignment with what all their excitement is and all their ideas come in. And we want to help them achieve those dreams. But before the dreams is a lot of confusion. They don't know where to start. Sometimes we listen to the wrong voices. Sometimes we're listening to the wrong people. My favorite is sometimes we're chasing someone else's goals. Oh my gosh, I've done that. I think I told you the story about a vision exercise that I do. It's like a goal setting exercise. Mm-hmm. And I always ask somebody to stand up in a webinar, an audience, whatever it is, and share theirs. And this person shared that they wanted an airplane. And I was like, I want an airplane. And I put it down on mine. I was like, that'd be so cool, right? And then as I went through really setting the strategy to my vision, to my goals, and setting up a plan, I discovered that, no, I don't want my own plane. I don't want to pay for all those expenses. I don't want to, God only knows at this point, pay for the gas to just put in that beast. How about housing it and the staff that would have to be needed, the pilot, all those things, the landing fees. There's a lot of fees associated with it, and I don't want all that. So I discovered I wanted to know somebody who had a private jet so I could use that. So that's how we shifted, that goal, and shifted from somebody else's goal that I kind of made my goal, and then I shifted it back to them and made my own goal from it.
Well, you definitely, in terms of that, you want somebody who's very wealthy that has a plane or a boat, because that's the smart goal. There are some goals that are smart goals, and having a wealthy friend that owns those things is a smart goal.
Yeah, yes. You know how they say smart goal? That's a smart goal.
That is a smart goal.
That's why I have you as a friend, my friends. You have one of those items that I like, and I don't have to anymore.
And that's very good. And so the other part of that is, since we're talking about, I think we're kind of tipping into what are the right tools that you need to help, because there's a thing you talk about called late game laser focus. And it was very funny when you first said it. It was one of those, you go, okay, I think I know what that is, because I think I do that. So can we talk about that for a minute? What is late game laser focus?
Late game laser focus is it's almost like showing up to the party late. It doesn't mean you're really late. It just means that you weren't with everybody else.
Right.
So you process slower. You're not in the same place other people are. Again, it's you're late in the game, but you've been acquiring all the same information. Now you can, because you have acquired all those tools and information, now you're laser focused because you know exactly what you need to do. And that's where we want to bring you. Once you determine you are a Super Bowl, that you have a Super Bowl syndrome, right? You're in a Super Bowl. Once you determine what those items are, those are the items that are holding you back. Those are the items that are getting in your way from success. Now we're going to take those, put tools to them to help them, disappear, so to speak,
Right.
or help you be able to work within them. Again, one of the learning things that I have is I have to understand the big picture, and then I pull it back to taking those steps up to get to the big picture. But I can't just take steps not knowing where I'm headed. I cannot. That's a turtle on my back. I don't know how to function that way, right? So we want to take all of those challenges that you have, identify them, try to work through those limiting beliefs, and then that puts you in the position to do that laser focus that we're talking about. So late game laser focus is just that.
Okay. So it sounds like if someone were to reach out to you and get the document that you were suggesting before, right?
Oh, the 3-step or the Super Bowl one? Is this you?
Yeah, I was talking about the 3-step, right? You
Okay.
have that 3-step document. That'd probably be a great way, right? Kind of give you a little bit of background. If they didn't want to give you background, it would certainly give them a little perspective, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. The 3-step to cleaning up your messes and incompletes is will really give you guidance to starting to take your steps to taking back control, starting to take steps to eliminate some of these symptoms, and that through doing that, you're going to really see that whether or not you have Super Bowl syndrome. And if you do, there are tools we can share with you that will make you unbelievably successful. And the people who've done it, a quick story, I have a person who does art boxes. And when I started working with them a year ago, they were making low 5 figures. But they were out of control. They, and them self-proclaimed out of control. They were just spending so much time just putting the boxes together as opposed to being in the creative mode. And we have put systems in place that allow them to accomplish their goals and do the shipments without making them go insane. Now they've hired people, and now, believe it or not, they've gone to high 6 figures. So in less than a year. So in the first quarter, they made more in the first quarter so far of this year than they made all last year.
So I'm going to actually challenge anybody who listens to this broadcast that they should to take that first step, reach out, get that evaluation, right?
It's free.
It's free. There's no obligation, and challenge themselves to say, I think, I'm going to do this and find out who I am. And do I really, would it be valuable for me to get some coaching and to get some additional direction? Because the return on that investment is incredible once you figure out, hey, this is how I learn, this is how I process, this is the syndrome, I do share it. Here's kind of the characteristics I need to watch out for, because if I see that means I'm getting distracted and off strategy.
Yeah, and when I send that to you, once you send that, I'll also send you other information to help update, and I'll also hold you accountable to see if you're filling it out. So
your first accountability test.
Can't help it. It's in my blood. I have to hold you accountable for making sure you do the cleanups and incompletes. Also, I'm there if you have any questions. If it's not resonating, you're not sure where to start, don't let that stop you from doing it. Just reach out and we'll be more than happy to help any way we can. But I think it's important to do that. Don't you, Vince?
I do. And I think that, being able to master those skills is critically important. So the class that you have, that helps them do that, right? It's not just about fixing kind of the short term, but it's developing these long-term skills that'll help them on successive projects for, continued achievement.
Yeah, the masterclass is 6 major basic principles in success to allow you to take those steps slow but sure, build them into your daily habits, make it part of your life tapestry so that you have all those things in place so you can be successful and you have that foundation nice and strong. So that's why the masterclass is important. So if you do the messes and incompletes and it resonates with you and you want to do more, the masterclass is clearly that next step.
So the first thing is to start by looking at that and then try to disrupt your own behavior and get help, reach out, figure out, do I need it? That would be a really good start.
Yeah. If any of those symptoms, resonate with you, impatient, procrastinate, no systems, no plans, no accountability, your goals are too vague. You don't have any goals. A lot of people don't set goals. You're chasing someone else's dream. You compare yourself to others. You set too many goals. You love excuses. You get distracted easily. You're hanging out with the wrong people. You're listening to the wrong voices. You have fear that's paralyzing you from doing it. You're surprised by obstacles. You don't know the how, where to start. All of those things will say, just come and do this cleaning up, the 3 steps to cleaning up your messes and incompletes, because that will set you on the trail to eliminate some of these.
And they can get that if they send an email to
lacasdia, CASDIA at ldcstrategies.com, or you can send an email here to Healthy Lifestyle. I'll drop it in the information below this broadcast as well. So you could just click on the link. I'll make it really easy. You could just go in there and grab it. Just reach out. I think it's an important step, but you have to make the step.
They do. You have to make the first step. So I challenge again, anybody listening to the broadcast, take the chance, get the information, and you can figure it out. You can say to yourself, hey, I'm in great shape if it's not necessary, but if it is, now you've got an opportunity to start correcting that and maybe even take advantage of a masterclass. We can build those skills that you need in that 6-step program.
Absolutely. You're brilliant. Oh my gosh, Vince, always a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for all your questions. I love having this dialogue. And thank you all for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle with Lorianne. I hope we have earned the privilege of your time. If you're looking for a business coach, accountability, strategy, or direction, you know where to come. Call me at 516-983-3591. In the meantime, thank you again for joining us today on Healthy Lifestyle. I look forward to seeing you here again next Saturday at 3. Until next time, I am Lorianne, and you are?
Vince Perrotta.
Yes, play a high role, serve a high purpose, show up for you, and show up what?
Big.
I love it. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Love the hand motion.